Happy Friday! Today is one of those divisive type topics like COVID or something that, I'm really tread lightly when it comes to, because I have zero interest in fielding a bunch of differing opinions on it, because opinions are like buttholes. Okay. Everybody has one. And I'm really not interested in seeing yours. So the bottom line here is that we are going to be talking guns and gun permits today. Now, here's what I have to tell you. YouTube comments are closed because I'm not babysitting them. I'm just not. So the comments are closed on YouTube. However, Brian is the one who went through this entire process. Brian is the gun dude, and he's going to be doing the rest of this video after my intro. So if you have any questions whatsoever that you want to talk to Brian about, you may do that only in one place, and that is the I Go Panama Facebook group. He and I are the admins of that group, and there's over about 13,000 people over there answering and asking questions, and that is the only place that we are going to entertain comments on this subject. So if you want to ask questions, you need to join the I Go Panama Facebook group. All right, so here's kind of the bottom line, guys. If you're offended, just turn it off now and go find something that makes you happy. Because, look, Panama does allow people to own guns, both Panamanian citizens and permanent residents. That is a fact, not an opinion. We went through the entire process over a year to obtain our gun permit and gun. That is a fact and not an opinion. Everything we did was 100% legal. Fact, not an opinion. So everything we're going to be talking about is facts, not opinions. So without further ado, here's Brian. We'll see how he does. He's not really keen on being in front of the camera, but like I said, I wasn't involved in any of this, so I can't give you the info. All right, Brian, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brian, and you know this is the last place I want to be. I'd rather be on the other side of that camera. But since Mary said, like she said, I went through this whole process myself, I'm the best one to explain it. I'm going to preface all this by saying I have an extensive firearms background. I grew up with them. I work with them in my field in Los Angeles. I am permitted in Los Angeles for almost anything. I've dealt with the police. I've trained with the police. So my firearms background is pretty extensive. And what I found was there is a very large firearm group in Panama. They do a lot of sport shooting, IDPA. They do a lot of range time, and it even goes to archery. There are big groups of people in Panama that have the same culture as we do in the States. So it is not unheard of here. So process-wise, it's very different from the States. I don't disagree with it. I think they actually handle things a lot better than we do in the States. We'll leave opinions on gun control out of it, but I think their process is actually pretty decent. You have to start by going to a gun store. There are many in Panama City, a couple in David, and maybe some others, in some of the smaller cities, but I'm not too sure. I haven't looked into that. I went through a gun store called Panama Shooters. We will link them below, and I dealt with the owners, Jorge and his father, and they're very knowledgeable. They've been doing this for years, and they helped me 100% of the way. So first thing is you walk into the store, you pick out your gun, and then you purchase it there. Once you purchase it, then they have a serial number to give to the Panamanian government. And then they give you a list of things that you need to do. The first thing you have to do is you have to go to the DIJ, which is the Investigative Judicial Department of Panama. And then they will do an extensive background check. When you go there, you have to actually specify you're doing a background check for a weapons permit, because that one is a little bit more involved than a normal background check that people do for licenses or job requests and stuff like that, which happens here a lot. And once you get that, you have to turn that in. With that, you have to do 4 different passport photos that gets attached to your paperwork. Then, after that, you have to go in for a drug test. Also, you have to do a psych evaluation, which is usually they can either do it in the stores or it's about a 50 question test, and you can even do it online, which will get submitted into your paperwork. Once you're done with that, you need to go to an approved shooting range and actually do a physical test with a firearm. They run you through about 50 rounds uh, on a private range, and they do many different things. There's a bunch of different drills you have to do. They are not only looking, it's not so much accuracy and, marksmanship, but they're looking at your manipulation of the gun to see if you know what you're doing and you're actually qualified. I believe if you don't know what you're doing, you need to complete a course. I'm not too sure on that, but that may need to happen before you can purchase a weapon. Once you have all that done, that gets turned in, and then you have to sit there and wait. It's got to go through, a couple of different governmental departments to get your approval. They have to get your weapon in. So that gets actually shipped directly to the DIASP, which is basically the public security department of Panama. So, they handle all kinds of things. So I'm not even going to list off, half of their jobs. The reason, like Mary said, it took us almost a year to get this done. That is not normal. The only reason it took that long is because in the middle of me doing it, there was a turnover in the DIASP department. A bunch of the head management was let go. So when replacing those management, everybody shuts down. They don't want to be responsible to approve any permits without having somebody in charge. So that cost us about 6 months. Once that got taken care of, then their ID machine broke down. So that took another month or so to get all the parts, because they actually print you out an ID when you go pick up your weapon. So once all that got done, and we actually got the phone call for us to make an appointment at the DIASP to go pick up the weapon, then you have to go in there at a certain time and plan on being there at least 3 to 4 hours if it's a first time permit, because then you go in there, show them all your paperwork, they put you in queue, and you're there with a ton of other people getting weapons, and you have to wait for your turn. So they cycle through, you go up, you get your picture taken, they print out your IDs, you go back down and wait, and then let me tell you, all the weapons get divvied out at the security department. You don't pick anything up at a gun store ever. Everything goes through there. So if you buy it at the gun store, you'll end up picking it up at the DIASP. So once I went through that, you get 2 different IDs. One is your actual gun permit, and it actually has on the back a list of every gun that you own that is on file with them, with the serial number and everything. Your permits, I believe there's 2 different types. There's a long gun permit, which allows you to own 5 weapons, which will be attached to that permit alone. And if you want anything more than that, you have to pull out a second permit. Now, the second other permit is for handguns, and it's the same thing. You can have up to 5 guns under one handgun permit, which in Panama, if you have that permit, actually allows you to conceal carry. So if you do anything above 5, you have to apply for another permit. So if you buy anything after, when you go back in, they will add that number onto your permit. So until you hit, your 5 weapons. So once all that was done, I went in, got all my pictures. They printed out all my permits, and then I had to wait for a little bit, and then they called me back up to another department, and we went over the gun. We inspected it. We matched the serial numbers, make sure everything on all the paperwork, on the IDs, matched 100%. And then I was allowed to walk out with it. I will tell you, you are not allowed to buy anything over 500 rounds of ammunition. That is basically the legal limit for you to have in your possession. That does not include range. You can go to the range and shoot as much as you want, but you can't leave with the ammo. If once again, that's Panama's rules. I don't know how they keep track of that yet. I'm still learning the ins and outs. But the other thing to know is they actually have you. You were supposed to go in. I believe it's once every 3 months and actually have range time. They want to see that you're staying proficient with your firearm and you're logging time. So if I go to a range, I will be able to log time. They take all that information down. So if I ever get questioned, I can show that I'm actually maintaining my abilities. I actually, that should be it. I mean, it really wasn't a bad process. We just had some hiccups in the middle there. Nothing our fault that slowed a lot of things down. But all said and done, it was a pretty easy process. And as long as you have a clean background, you should be fine.
Okay, did you talk to them about importing weapons?
No, I did not. Good quote. You can import weapons into Panama. You can ship them down here. You can go through all the probably the DIASP again. But what happens is what I am told. Things get lost. Things get hung up. Things get stuck in customs, and you may have your gun there a year more, and you may even never see that gun again. So I was advised to leave anything I have back in the States. Don't bring it down in case I never want to see it again. So they say they've had a lot of guns get stuck in customs so long, they come out that they've been rusted, and because we're by the ocean here, so nothing stays perfect here forever. But yeah, you can actually import them legally if you want to, but it is a big paperwork hassle.
All right. Is that it?
I believe that's it.
Okay.
Like they said, any questions, put it on the Facebook comments, and I will try to reach out and get you any answers that I can.
Yay, Brian. I think you did a good job. Of course, I didn't see most of it because I was wrangling dogs. But from what I heard, good job. Maybe I can convince him to get in the front of the camera more often. All right. So again, just to reiterate, you can go to the Facebook group if you have any questions about this whatsoever. Brian will be more than happy to try to help you out. Make sure you click subscribe. Make sure you hit notify. And make sure you join the iGo Panama Facebook group, because anything you want to know about Panama, whether it's moving here, living here, or coming as a tourist, and the only place you can ask questions about this video is going to be over there. All right, so until next week, have a great week.